Popity's nerfect.
Oh.
Yeah, right? You know what I'm saying?
I've never heard that before.
Have you not?
It's also scary to hear.
Oh.
Wakey, wakey.
Welcome back to I'll Make a Stay Out of You, the calm podcast where we talk about calm things. Tom, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am looking forward to getting past this episode.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because we didn't watch anything. So
we didn't watch anything.
What the
could
hell?
we possibly be discussing today?
I don't know.
We need to do an episode to set up for Kingdom. Because the thing about Kingdom is that it was like wrought with people who just went missing in the middle of the show. And so like
what?
if I don't talk about it, then you're just gonna be like, wasn't there two guys there before?
Okay.
So we have to talk about like every single group, almost every single group is missing somebody, including the announcers. So the announcers for Kingdom are from a K-pop boy group called TVXQ. I think they're a duo. I think it's just the two guys, but I don't know. I think they're second gen. I don't know anything about it. If you love TVXQ, good on you. I don't know. One of those hosts was fired from the show.
Oh.
Yeah, he got fired.
That's what you mean by they go missing.
Right. Yeah, I don't mean that they were like kidnapped.
No, that's not
Like-
what I was thinking either. I thought you meant just
Okay.
like they went off stage and did not return.
No. No, like they left the show.
Although I have been watching a lot of Sons of Anarchy lately.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like I've watched it all before, but I'm rewatching it, and so like the idea of someone going missing, quote unquote, is like not that foreign to my brain right now. You know?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so TVXQ, Yunho, one of the members of that, who was a host on the show, was fired because at the time when they were filming, COVID restrictions in Korea were very harsh. And so they had to fit a certain criteria to be able to even make the show. And I think you'll find that the Korean government is very harsh with a lot of things that we're going to talk about. So this guy was at like a club. He was at like a party and was seen, and people basically like doxed him and were like, this dude was hanging out at this party. He was not being COVID safe or social distancing and stuff. And they fucking fired him.
Wow.
And it's like, the follow up to that is that we don't really know the truth of it. We know that he was fired, and we know that he was accused of being at this club. The club that he was accused of attending was like an adult nightclub, and they were like, that definitely didn't happen. They refuted that like point blank, but he still got fired.
Right.
So he's out. So for the rest of the show, so like in the first episode, you will see two hosts. But then for the rest of the show, there's just the one guy holding it up. And like, you know, commendable job. It's hard when you go in there expecting like your partner in music to be there to back you up, to run the lines, to do all this stuff. And then you switch and it's just, now you just got the one guy and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's the start of it. There are some like more common reasons for members to be missing from groups. B2B had two members who were missing because of they're doing their military service.
Right.
They also had another member, and this was before Kingdom, so like this would have happened before that, who was had to leave B2B. Not the show. He had to leave the group because he was investigated for using marijuana over the course of 4 to 5 years. And you're right. No, I know. But here's the thing. Korea's crazy about their drug laws. Okay, this dude was charged for the crime of having used it, not currently using it. So he had used it at one time and had already recovered from and was sober. Well, right, yeah, recovered, right, quote unquote, right, right. These are the words that they were using, right?
Yeah.
But so he was sentenced originally to a 3-year sentence for having used marijuana in his past. Not currently using, not caught using, but having used it in the past. 3 years in jail. But an appeal allowed him to have a suspended sentence. So they didn't vacate his sentence. They gave him a suspended sentence that said, like, well, this guy says that he's, he never dealt drugs. He only used them, and he had, quote unquote, recovered from his drug use. Therefore, we will allow him to not be in jail. And but if he does ever offend, he's going to jail. Yeah. In that same vein, the leader of iKON had to quit the group in 2019 because there was a big scandal that happened where he was one of many idols that were accused of buying drugs because they basically caught this one ex-trainee from some company. I don't know if it was from YG or SM or whatever, but she was like a trainee, so she knew other K-pop artists who like wanted to get drugs, and she was like the dealer. And when she got caught, she just flipped on everyone.
Oh, what a bitch.
Well, she was never a debuted idol. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so her job was drug dealing, basically. So he quit their group and in 2019 for attempting to buy marijuana just to have it delivered. It never actually happened. He didn't actually buy it. He didn't ever use it. He just tried to and then was forced to quit his group. So iKON is like, they're a famous group at Kingdom. You'll see that people are stoked about them being there. However, they don't even have their leader from when they started. So they're a man down. That's a problem. ATEEZ is the youngest group, and they have a member who is out for anxiety. He's not on the show because he's on a what do you call it? Sabbatical? What the fuck do you call that? But he's not currently like he's on a hiatus for anxiety. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty reasonable. At least, it's nothing crazy. SF9 is one of the other groups. They have a member out only for a couple of episodes because one of their members had a back injury. And in a similar vein, the Boys had one of their members who, towards the end of the show, had to go in for surgery. He had like a collarbone implant for a broken collarbone that he had removed. And because of that surgery, he wasn't able to participate, but they still had him on the show. So if you see a member of the Boys just like sitting on the sidelines, he's still there. All right. So those are all of those. So in February 10th of 2020, there was there were these two twins who were volleyball stars in Korea, and they had some run-ins with one of their teammates, and had claimed that they were getting some grief, some hazing or whatever from one of their teammates. And they play for like Korea at the Olympics. They're on like a Korean volleyball team in the country, right?
Yeah.
And one of their teammates, so one day one of the twins posted accusing their teammate of bullying and saying, quote, "The person doing the bullying might be having fun, but the people getting bullied want to die." Right? This is a very, very specific thing. To which many people then posted anonymously saying, "Hey, what the fuck? You bullied us in high school. Do you not remember that?" They said, "Yeah, I know." So here, let me. I'm scrolling through because I want to get exact quotes here from some of these accusers of these volleyball twins, and this will be relevant. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah. So this person said, "I still have trauma from when you would make me do extreme things. Why do I live with such trauma? It's because of you guys. You did whatever you wanted in middle school, and so it was easy, right? But for us, because of your guys' selfish hearts and desires, our everyday lives become wary. We would think, I wonder how we'll get in trouble today, or I wonder where they'll hit us today." So these are people who are being not just like emotionally abused, but physically abused. This person said that she was being hit by them. The second accuser posted and said, "Do you remember the time that you hit our mouths because we didn't say something and my glasses went flying? Do you know the thoughts I had back then? I wanted to jump off my dorm's rooftop at the time. I wanted to kill myself in front of you guys so that both of you would feel guilty in some way." So these people like came out, posted this stuff. Now, something important to know about Korea is they have extremely strict defamation laws, to the point where if you accuse someone online, even anonymously, that person can then sue to have you that de-anonymized and force you to basically like prove it. And if you can't, like, they can sue you for money or you might get jail time.
Mm-hmm.
So when people put out accusations like this, the assumption from the beginning is it's true.
Right.
Because you wouldn't risk going to jail for an accusation like this.
Right.
And yeah. So that was on February 10th. And they did like an apology thing, and that didn't go well, and then they were kicked off their teams, right? So like crazy. And then of course the girl who they had accused of bullying, who was on the team, also had like a smarmy tweet about it. I did not copy it down, but that's kind of funny. It's like a little funny. And the other thing that we should mention here, bullying in Korean is not really there's not, that's the word that is used when it's translated into English, but the actual Korean word more likely translates to school violence. And it literally means, which also sounds worse, but it literally means to make someone an outcast or a loner. So it covers like a wide range of actions, including physical and verbal attacks, blackmailing, cyberbullying, and more, right?
Right.
So apparently this is a big deal. And seeing this happen, these volleyball twins who were like stars in Korea get taken down for bullying in middle school, set off a wave of people getting their own accusations. It's like a Me Too, but with bullying.
Yeah.
This is something that hit a bunch of people, idols, everyone, and did not spare us, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
So, on February 22nd, so only like 12 days later, the first accusation post against Hyunjin was posted.
Against Hyunjin?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And the thing is, right, and there's an awesome document that goes over the entire context, which I will link. It's a Google Doc. I'm gonna link that in our show notes, so like anybody who's listening, if they think that like we're overly fair or unfair, whatever, like you can look into it yourself. Like it's got links to everything, translations for everything. like all kinds of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But something I should point out from the very beginning before we go talking about these accusations is that at the end of this, none of these were substantiated. None of them. Zero. It was substantiated that, yes, Hyunjin did go to class with some of these accusers. And so, like, ultimately, does this have... is this actually something that we can say this is true? Hyunjin was a bully in middle school. I don't know. That's hard to say, but we are going to look at the things that we're accused of, but I don't know. We'll go through it, but how do you feel so far knowing that your new number 3 is being accused of bullying in middle school?
Well, I'll be honest. That doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
Even if he did.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
People make mistakes.
100%.
People grow up, right? Like I did shit when I was younger that I regret, or at least, or maybe I don't regret it, but I can look back and say, wow, I was an asshole, or I did that wrong, and I wish that I hadn't. But I can't go back and I can't change that. I can just accept that is who I was back then, and that's not who I am anymore. So
right, be a better person from that point forward. I mean, like that's the thing. Like even in the survival show, they had that conversation with JYP where he says, like, look, you may not have been a good person all the time, and that's okay, because now that you're going to be an idol, you must portray yourself and treat and like carry yourself to try and be the most perfect version of yourself. So like JYP from the beginning, before they debuted, was like, look, not everybody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Like, you gotta try and just be a better person.
Yeah.
And so like they had a whole thing about it at that time. So like, okay, fair, right? And the other thing, and we will get into all of this, is that like Hyunjin was accused by one person. I mean, that's the problem with this, much like a lot of scandals and stuff, is that like they compound, right? So one person did an accusation and you go, okay, well, that's like one person's claim. A bunch of people came out and defended him, and then they go, okay, so like there's like two sides to the story. Like clearly we're not getting a clear picture of what's going on. But then as like more and more and more people start to come out, and then it's like harder to just go like, okay, well, I don't know. And one of the things that really hurt the case, we'll say, for Hyunjin, is that these accusations were going on, and then after the accusations came out, the last episode of Skiz Code was released. And so that caused a big hubbub of people being like, hey, I can't believe you're trying to act like you're taking this seriously and you're going to release a show with him in it. So, okay. Yeah. But I do want to put it out there, though. I agree. Like, he's in middle school at the time. We're talking like, and not like the last year of middle school. He probably was 13 in Korean age, but he was in his second year of middle school. So I don't know, like,
kids are assholes.
Yeah, kids are assholes. And we'll get into the exact things that were accused. And some of the problem that I have with it is like the language that's used is like emotionally charged, and then like when something bad might reflect on the accuser, they just dance right over it. So I'll try and point those out a little bit. I don't want to downplay somebody who felt like they were bullied, right? Because like that's not the point. I think that if that's the way that they felt about that situation, then it should be handled between those two people. Like, I think that that's fine. And that's an okay thing to happen. But when you're trying to make a case publicly saying like, hey, this happened to me, I want to tell my story about it, and you leave out details or you skip over details that like you didn't want to mention because they may reflect poorly on you. Anyway, I'm cutting that.
Okay.
So
but don't cut the part where you said that you're cutting it, so people are just left in the dark.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Sorry, listener.
That's all right. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Stray Kids.
Yeah.
So, and Hyunjin specifically in this case. So let's go into the translation of the actual accusation from the accuser. Oh my God, it's so long. I don't want to read all this. All right. So I'll try to summarize, right? She attended the same school. She says things like, those hellish times would have remained buried if he had remained a non-celebrity out of my sight. But with Hyunjin's debut as an idol, those memories came to life and bother me whenever I see him on TV. Seeing those celebrities who were perpetrators of school violence currently experiencing the bitter taste of reality due to the school violence controversy, I'm trying to summon the courage to summon the courage like this, with the hope that I'll find out you will not be so confident as well. Already just... All right. So anyway, at one point, they ran into each other. People had found out that she was doing some work for a small company, doing some like photo shoots. And he came to her to talk to her and was asking like a bunch of questions like, hey, well, what company is it? What kind of shoot is it? And she said, oh, it's nothing special. It's not a big company. And she says after that, whether it was he was offended by who knows what, he even told me, quote, I'm going to debut before you. And that is an incident of bullying against her.
Okay.
Because he told her he was going to debut before her. And I should point out that just in general, right, the like Western response to this, when it all came out, was just like, okay, I don't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it's not a nice thing to say, but
right.
That's not bullying.
Yeah. This just sounds like a person who was interested in the idea of like being in that. And the thing is that Hyunjin was not working for JYP. He was not a trainee. He was scouted in his third year of middle school. So, you know, he wasn't something he was actively pursuing at the time, but maybe he had thought about it. Maybe somebody gave him a business card. And so he heard that one of his classmates was doing something and he wanted to pry about it and, you know, felt competitive, whatever. I don't know. He was a child, right?
Or yeah. And maybe that like his response was in response to whatever she said, which was like not giving him details or whatever. Like he felt maybe she was hiding information from him to like hold him back. And he was just like being genuinely interested. And then she's just like, no, I'm not going to give you the info. Maybe, who knows? You know, I don't know. That's my take on it so far.
Right.
Maybe we know more.
Yeah, right. So she was added to a group chat on Kakao Talk, which is like a messenger app in Korea. It's super popular. It's like we what's the one that people use that I don't because I have an iPhone?
For group chats?
Yeah. What chat app do you use when you want to message people?
Oh, I use Discord.
Okay, well,
but I guess other people, you know, you got Facebook, you got WhatsApp.
Like
WhatsApp.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, WhatsApp is super popular around the world, but
yeah.
It's basically like WhatsApp but for Korea. So anyway, she got added to this Kakao Talk. Kakao Talk.
I was literally about to.
This is serious,
right.
Okay? This is bullying, okay?
Yeah.
This is school violence. So she said she was...
School violence sounds way worse than bullying.
I know. So she gets added into this chat by him, so she says, at this point. Spoilers. And then proceeds to have like a bunch of people are in there that are like mocking her for various reasons or whatever, that are just going back and forth, and she doesn't say everything, but anyway, she says that Hyunjin gave her 2 reasons that he had a grudge against her, and he said that he didn't like how she told him, who was sitting at the very back, to close the door, and he said, "Close it yourself. Why are you telling others to do it?" And she replied something like, "You all are the ones opening it, so why should I close it?" And received only a reply that was like, "Am I your servant?" So from that, it sounds like this, like it's a two-way conversation, but she also was referring to "you all are the ones." So there's like other people who are like dogging on her, basically. She's feeling a little dogpiled, and people are like, "Hey, why don't you shut the fucking door if you're going to complain about it all the time?"
Right.
And then she calls Hyunjin out specifically and says like, "Well, you know, you're the one who sits there. You're the ones who are opening it." And then he's like, "What are we, your servants?" Like, you know. So it seems that he did not like being told to close the door. Cool. Bullying. The next thing that the next little like run-in they had was that there was a lunch distribution, and basically when they do lunch at school, they have somebody who's on lunch duty who hands out the food, and because they like dole it out, there's usually not that much left over. And it says it said that she says like, "I don't like how you received a lot of lunch. This is what he said to her, supposedly. "I don't like how you received a lot of lunch. It's because of you that others can't eat lunch." And criticized and mocked me for a completely childish reason, which is a bit ridiculous when I think about it now. So he mocked her for having like extra food, or giving food to a friend or whatever. I don't know. You know, we'll get to that, because one of the people who like backs up Hyunjin clarifies what that is talking about, and it's not at all the way that it's portrayed. So, she said, let me go through this.
Okay, well, while you're figuring that out, I will just say, so far, it just sounds like, you know, they just didn't get along, and that's not bullying.
Right. Yeah. No, it's what it sounds like to me, too.
Like I'm not nice to everyone, but that's because I don't have to be nice to everyone. I don't have to be everyone's friend. I don't need everyone to be my friend, and not everyone needs me to be their friend. Sometimes you just don't get along with people, and that's perfectly okay, but that's not fucking bullying.
Right. So here's the thing. It gets so weird. This whole thing is so weird. The group chat she was added to, that people were like going back and forth at her. So she said that she didn't want to like deal with it anymore, and so she gave the phone to her older brother and sister, who then like talked shit back to everyone because she didn't want to deal with it anymore. And
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And because they're adults, like they were able to like, you know,
articulate themselves.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then here's this quote here that says, "If you have that much to say," like when they were arguing or whatever over this app, "if you have that much to say, don't do it on Kakao Talk, but say it to my face. Come to the front of school now, and if you can't come out, call me." He refused with the excuse, quote, "My mom is crying, so I can't come out," and mocked me with the other male students. So that sounds weird. It kind of sounds out of left field, right? And I haven't been able to quite put the pieces together here, but it appears that some of the mockery that must have gone on that just kind of got yada-yada'd from her siblings included making fun of Hyunjin because his dog was sick and dying. And my mom is crying so I can't come out is because their dog was dying when this was happening. So, like, I'm not saying that, like, lashing out at people is, like, a good thing to do, but I feel like it's understandable that if a child's dog that they were raising was dying, that perhaps you would not want to... perhaps it would be understandable if they snapped at people,
right?
Even if they didn't normally, right?
Right.
I find it almost 100% understandable, and in fact, later other people had told her that, oh yeah, actually, it turns out that, like, you know, his dog was dying or whatever. So she found that out after the fact, so she says, but everything's murky with all of these things, right? Of course. One of the things that gets me here also is that some of the evidence that this accuser has was that they messaged a friend and then prompted them, like, hey, do you remember when this happened with Hyunjin? And their friend responded, oh man, that's crazy. And that's their evidence that, like, yeah, see, this person backed me up. And I'm like, you told them what it was that happened, and then they said, oh yeah, that happened, and that's the evidence. So
right.
Weird.
Yeah. You can't prime the answer.
Right. And you know, for her, like, what some people tried to criticize her as a victim of these, you know, attacks, which were not just from Hyunjin. She even said it was a bunch of other people in her class. That you know, like, people expect you to act like a victim, and she wasn't going to do that, so she just, like, moved on with her life until this point. And so, like, I don't think it's valid for people who criticized her and said, like, oh well, like, why weren't you more distraught then at the time? I think that's like, no, I mean, I think it's a totally reasonable thing to just go, like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm just, you know, the school year's almost over, so I'm just moving on with my life. We're probably not going to be in the same class. And they weren't. So, but they said, well, you know, I don't think the violence should be justified for any reason.
Violence.
So,
yeah, okay.
So the violence here was that she was somewhat in person. They talked about, he pried a little bit about her work being in photos or in you know, a model or whatever, and then said that he was going to debut ahead of her. And then there were some contentious chats that were not just with him. There was a bunch of other people who were also going back and forth in a chat. Those were her things. And she says, I hope that the violence committed won't be justified for the reason that he was young, and I hope for a direct apology. So, to be fair, and in her favor, all she wants is an apology. Fair enough, right? So, scrolling. Let's get to the people who backed him up. All right, so this came out the same day and said, like, this is a lie. I'm a student. After seeing the false post uploaded about Skiz Hyunjin's school violence, I wanted to let people know that there were no incidents related to school violence at all during middle school. So I registered for the service just to post this. Rumors about his handsome visuals spread since he entered the first year of middle school, so many of our peers were envious and jealous. Now, this guy's ascribing malice to her. I don't think that's fair. I mean, I think, like you had said earlier, it's a miscommunication more so than anything else. He goes on to say he always had a bit of a hard time because of the rumors. However, he was always bright and got along with his friends, and he's a student who won the trust of our classroom peers to the point that he was class president during the second year of middle school when the accuser claimed that she was hurt. So clearly the class did not agree that this was a Hyunjin problem. He's a kid who made school life have no issues to the point so many people think this way even 6 years later. So he starts by refuting all the things, like the story of how he said he's going to debut before her, and he says this has to be debunked because he wasn't street cast until his 3rd year of middle school. Before that, he didn't have thoughts of being a celebrity. He went to a cram school to go to college, so he wasn't gonna try and be a celebrity. However, like, let's be fair. Like, I think that that's totally a reasonable thing to have happened, and wouldn't consider it bullying in the slightest. Like,
right.
telling someone you're going to debut before them is so weird of a thing to say. Like, that's bullying. Like, that's bullying. Like, maybe he's just being competitive. I don't know. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
All right. And then he says, I'm also cautious because it's about the classmate who uploaded the post, but I'm telling you this with the hope that what happened doesn't become representative. The classmate who uploaded the post about his school violence had a lot of personality-related issues. There was a time she cursed, saying, bleep, it's bleeped, even though cursing was banned, and argued with other students during a ball game in our first year of middle school. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm sorry, a middle schooler who doesn't curse, like, I know this is Korea, but, like, come on, man. Like, is that, like, I know that the rules say, like, you're not supposed to do it, but come on. What the fuck, right?
Yeah.
During
middle school?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I did not swear at all during middle school.
At all?
No, never once.
Well.
Ask my parents. They listen to this podcast. They'll tell you. Yeah. I was a very sweet, innocent child. I never once said any swear words ever.
Ever? I don't believe you. I hardly believe it exists.
Yeah, that's
the other thing
lie.
that this dude says. Yeah, it's a lie. Of course. He says during the 3rd year of middle school, she, the accuser, led others in bullying someone, and a student disciplinary committee was called to deal with that incident.
Wait, so there's actual, like, evidence of like hard fucking evidence of her bullying someone back then and, like, being dealt with.
Right. Right. So that's what he's saying, is that, like, look, there was actually bullying from her to another student, and that there was a student disciplinary committee called to deal with it. So, like, yeah. So he called her out. Another person posted, and let's see. Oh, the backdoor incident. This guy has some insight in that. So he says, when the accuser was in the farthest back seat, our classmates didn't close the door properly as they came and went. They got mad. The accuser got mad. So what's weird is, from her accusation, I thought it sounded like, and even the last time I read this, which was like this week, I thought that Hyunjin was the one who was sitting in the back seat. But no, she was the one sitting in the back seat of the class. Weird.
Yeah, right. No, that's how I heard it when you were saying it earlier, is that, like, she is sitting at the back next to the door, and they're, like, not, I guess, shutting it. Well, now you're saying they're not shutting it correctly, and she's asking them to shut it, and then Hyunjin's response was, if you have such a problem with it, why don't you shut it? Right.
Which sounds much more reasonable, I feel like, maybe. I mean, like, you know, people should shut the door, but, like,
right.
All right. So, but here's the further clarification. The accuser got mad at our peers who kept leaving the door open and shouted at them to just close the door with curse words mixed in. Hyunjin entered the classroom when the accuser opened the door and yelled, and he told her, "You can't just close the door." Or he told her, "You can just close the door. Why are you saying it so harshly?" So what he was mad about and fighting with her about is that she was being mean about it. Like, he didn't have a problem with her, like, telling people, like, hey, could you close the door nicely, or closing it herself, because those were both options.
Right.
His problem from this person's perspective is that, like, she was, like, cursing at people to do it. And, you know, so anyway, they ended up fighting because of that incident. This dude says that the lunch thing is a total misunderstanding, because there's a common thing that the students in the class would do, where if they were on lunch duty, they wouldn't be able to get food, and so they would joke around with people and say, "I can't get lunch because of you," to people who had like asked for a little bit more food or whatever. Like, so it was meant to be joking, and it was like a common refrain from people who were friends in the class, according to this guy. So like, if that's true, then I mean, already I thought like the whole thing was like weird and kind of out of left field. Like, why would he tell her like, hey, well, because you're sharing food, or you've got a lot of food, you're the reason that some people can't eat. But here it sounds like it's the like expected behavior. Like, it's the class meme of like, hey, I'm serving all the food, and if somebody's like, give me a little more, and you do, and then you're like, man, I'm not going to be able to eat because of you asshole. Like, yeah. It doesn't seem as harsh as it was portrayed. So, but again, this is this person's interpretation, and then the group chat. He does have insight into the group chat as well, because he was apparently there. So he says, I also want to tell you that in their sentence, quote, for the 2 reasons above, around the end of school year in winter during the 2nd year of middle school, he added me to a class group chat that I wasn't a part of before and started verbally attacking me. He says, there is one truth and 2 lies. First, she wrote for 2 reasons above, but Hyunjin and her normally didn't get along. But it wasn't one-sided harassment. There were times when she started an argument and they didn't get along as well. And there were cases where her and other boys teased or made fun of each other, and it turned into a fight. The 2 of them didn't speak nicely to each other and showed no respect for each other. So it's like you were saying, it just sounds like they were having an argument. Like, it doesn't sound like it's anything too crazy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, yeah, this guy says it wasn't a class group that she wasn't a part of, but a situation that happened where Hyunjin and the boys he was close to said that they'll talk to her in their own group chat and added her into it. I don't know in detail what kind of conversation occurred, because it was a private chat with only boys, including Hyunjin, but the 2 of them didn't have a good relationship. They fought often, so they probably did exchange bad words. But it wasn't one-sided. It wasn't school violence. It was just an argument. So that's what this guy's perspective of it is. So,
yeah.
So the accuser did then do a follow-up post to like try and rebuke some of this stuff. And like I had said earlier, like it's not surprising that his whole thing about like, oh, well, he didn't get scouted until his 3rd year. It's like, well, he's a handsome boy. He probably got other offers, right? Like, even if he wasn't actively pursuing it, it's something that probably came up, right?
Yeah.
So she said that that the incident that she was disciplined for, that there was the disciplinary committee, wasn't school violence, but an argument among a group of girls that got a little out of hand. And in the end, everyone apologized and made up with each other. So the only thing I really see difference between her interpretation of that and what's going on with Hyunjin is that Hyunjin didn't apologize, right? So she seems to think this definitely got out of hand, but it's not bullying because they said they were sorry. So maybe that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, she goes on to defend herself against the personality related issues. I say scrub that altogether. Like, it doesn't make any sense to like even use that against her. Like, she was a kid too. Like, doesn't matter. Don't care if she cussed. Like, I get that it seems extreme at the time because they're kids, and like in Korea maybe it's more serious, but just like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Let me go through here. Oh man, this is so long again. Yeah. How are you feeling about this? This is the first accusation. I think the other ones will go faster. This is the longest one, but how do you feel so far?
I mean, I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. It sounds like they just didn't get along. Like,
right.
And I guess she's still salty about it because he's famous now and she's not.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the part in this post, but she does clarify that she doesn't actually know and can't confirm that Hyunjin was the person who added her to that chat. So, that was one of the things that.
But okay, but even if it was a group chat for like the people in that class, right?
Well, it wasn't. So even the person defending Hyunjin said that like it wasn't the class group chat. So because she had said that she was in the class group chat, but it was like the end of the year, and so she left it because there was nothing else for them to talk about for the school year. And then she was added back to a group, and she thought it was the same one. She said it was just an honest mistake. I just thought I was in the same one. So she clicked on it and saw that there were people kind of going back and forth in it and talking shit, basically. And whatever. Like, it's just, yeah.
But also, were they being malicious, or were they just venting frustrations about someone that sounds like they were just a fucking asshole to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, if this is am I the asshole? I mean, like, I would think that all the kids are assholes. All kids are assholes, all right? Like, because ultimately, like, yeah, they are it seems like there are a bunch of people ganging up on her and yelling at her in a chat or whatever, just talking shit. Not to say that she didn't get her older brother right, exactly. But we're not going to know the why. The only thing that we know for sure is that she didn't get along with Hyunjin and other people in the class and other people in her next class because there was a big old hubbub there too. So like, I don't know. We don't know.
Okay, well, I can apply this situation. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I have no way of knowing exactly what was going on. But it sounds an awful lot like something that I deal with on a daily basis at work today as adults.
Yeah.
Right. Which is that there's a guy at work that I work with pretty regularly, that I don't like. I don't get along with him.
About Ben.
It's not Ben.
It's not Ben.
I don't like this guy. And I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but he just happens to find the things that upset me, and he does them often. And I call him out on it, and I'm like, I am mean to him, and other people are mean to him. And we talk about how much we don't like this guy because of the things that he does. But we're not bullying him. He deserves it. He is doing these things that piss us off, right? Like, and bullying would be me going out of my way to make him feel bad about it, which I'm not doing. He does something that I don't like, and I tell him that he's doing something that I don't like. And I may not, put it nicely, but I don't fucking have to if it's a regular occurrence, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
This guy earns the shit that we give him, and it sounds like this girl earned the shit that she got back then, and is just upset about it.
We weren't there, and we don't have a clear picture on exactly what happened, but we have a couple of examples of her like yelling and cussing at people, and people yelled and cussed at her. So I don't know. And maybe all those people just bottled it up and then wanted to vent it out at the end of the year before they didn't see her again because she was in a different class. I don't know. But all I can tell is that was the end of it. Like nobody hurt her other than her feelings, right? The people were mean to her, and she was mean to others, and she purported to move on, and all she wants is an apology, and I think that's reasonable. I think that at the end of the day, they probably apologize. That's fine, like, because that's part of who he is now. He's the kind of person that would. So fair.
I wouldn't.
Well, you're not Hyunjin, okay? He's a better person than you.
Yeah.
JYP has an announcement. This came out on the 23rd. So this is the day after. He's JYP Entertainment, not the person.
Okay.
Says, we are making an announcement on the issue regarding Hyunjin that is currently spreading on various online communities. First, the company is doing its best to confirm the truth regarding this issue. We are listening to the opinions of the school member attended during the time of the issue, raised... Wait. God, this fucking sentence here just totally got away with me with its context of what they were saying here. We are listening to the opinions of the school the member attended during the time of the issue raised and of his acquaintances, and if the accuser agrees, we are also considering listening directly to the opinions of the accuser. However, we have confirmed that there are many parts among the contents currently spreading indiscriminately that are false, and we have identified those who are intentionally creating and spreading malicious rumors. Thus, we will conduct a detailed investigation through various routes and confirm the undistorted exact truth, and we plan to take legal action regarding the spread of false information. We will do our best to protect our artists by investigating clear facts, and we will properly take strong action regarding the spread of false rumors. So strong statement out the gate.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Not at all an unexpected response, in my opinion.
Right. No, definitely not. Especially in a country where like it's expected, right? Like that they should sue people who spread false rumors.
Well,
and if you don't threaten it, then people are just going to keep spreading rumors, right?
Yeah. I mean, on multiple things. One is just that they came out with a statement. Two, that they're defending their artist because they have already started looking into it and started finding the holes. So they're like, okay, we're going to be, we're taking a stance on Hyunjin's side about this. And three, that they're going to take legal action because that shit's fucked up. Even in a country where it's not expected, what is that? It's called libel and slander, Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah. So, accuser B, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
This post was deleted. And I don't remember which one of them do not get met up with, but this person says, it's true that Hyunjin is a perpetrator of school violence. I was one of his victims. The post that famously blew up isn't me, and I don't care if it gets reported to JYP because it's true. I'm also in the middle of collecting evidence. And they said, I can show you my yearbook. I was harassed a lot for a year because I couldn't block a ball during a ball game. I heard fat bitch, insults about my family, etc. a lot. Endless insults in the group chat and snide insults during break time. My suffering was endless, and I had to take medication. I had a really hard time. Okay, so this post has no specifics other than people in a crowd yelled things when I couldn't block a ball, and I also got yelled at in a group chat, which also means that like this was not Hyunjin alone bullying someone. This is her in a group chat. I assume this is a woman. I mean, like, it may not be. Saying that they were just also bullied, but they just like there's no specific. That's the whole thing. Like that they just go on to say like, oh well, I would Hyunjin even remember me? I had anxiety and depression for a while. I couldn't even go about my daily life well. That's the end of the post. That's the whole thing. So accuser A has a ton of specific details and accusations. This person's like, man, people yelled at me like a lot, and that's their accusation.
Yeah.
So
people
I gotta,
in general.
Right, people in general. It doesn't say, like, she says that Hyunjin was one of the people engaged in this, but, like, seems like a lot of people were picking on this person, maybe, but, like, even the picking on is, like, I got yelled at for not blocking a ball at a game. I assume it's soccer. I don't know if, like, have you ever been to a Little League game? Like, people get way too into that shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Accuser C.
Mm-hmm.
They say they were in the same class as Hyunjin in their first year of middle school, but his personality was fucking awful. He was an Iljin, which is like a delinquent known for underage smoking, drinking, and breaking the uniform code, skipping school, bullying and harassing other students, etc. And it says all the posts defending Hyunjin are by his friends. Don't trust those posts defending him. And I'm like, that seems crazy. Like, all right, anyway. Moving on to the other they posted additional comments below it. They said during our first year, if there was someone that he didn't like, he would curse at them and be obvious at how he hated them. Whenever he caught sight of me, he would curse at me for being fat and ugly. I was young then, so I didn't think about saving evidence. I don't know. It's just like saying that he in the next year of middle school, his class elected him as like the class president, and then saying like, oh no, actually he's like a delinquent that like would skip class and smoke and curse and stuff and not wear his uniform right. I'm going, these things don't really track very well.
Yeah. When you first mentioned the whole class president thing, like, whatever. I'm not gonna. I take that with a grain of salt. I don't think that means anything.
That he was elected class president, or
that him being elected class president says anything about his character.
I don't think that
Trump was elected president.
Right. Yeah. No. I know. I don't think that it has bearing necessarily on his own personal behavior as it stands, as far as like cussing at people or yelling at people or anything like that. It just means that he was generally liked. That's the baseline of what it tells us.
Right.
And if he was generally liked, then he wouldn't be an outcast,
delinquent, right?
Delinquent. Like that. Those two things don't track.
Yeah.
Is he still a middle schooler who's like cursing and stuff? Probably.
Yeah. And can and will be somewhat of an asshole sometimes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's middle school for you, baby.
Right. Yeah.
And high school and every single waking moment afterward, is just a mix of emotions. Unfortunately, not everyone goes through life just fucking high and bliss and happy and nice to everyone, because that is not reality.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah. A updated her post. We already talked about a lot of the refutations that she made, even though I didn't have the specific things in front of me. And then basically said, like, I'm not going to respond to anyone DMing me unless it's JYP Entertainment. So she was done with it at that point. Then we got accusation D. So this is the fourth and final one. This person, I think, had oh right, yes, okay. This is a case where this person was dating a friend of his, and then they broke up, and so he was confrontational with her after that.
Shocker.
Like, I know. It's weird. Apparently, so it says okay, or I'm gonna go all the way up because let's like get the I want to get the whole words. I don't want to. I want to make sure that like it's in context. I don't want to like take him out of context, even though like I could summarize it, but like this one's not as long, so let's just do it. The first person who uploaded the post exposing him this time and I are not the same person. She wants to clarify that up front. The contents of that post are not false either. I went to the same elementary and middle school as Hyunjin, so we're acquainted that way, and we have never once been in the same class in middle school. Okay. So they were never in class together, so I don't know how she can testify on the first accusation being correct, but all right, whatever. Doesn't matter. We've already addressed the fact that sounds like a fight, so it doesn't really matter. The first time I heard abusive language from Hyunjin was in the second year of middle school. Back then, I had dated and broken up with Hyunjin's friend, then met another person. So she was seeing another person after she broke up with Hyunjin's friend. Mm-hmm. At that time, among the group of girls close to Hyunjin, one girl that always cursed at me whenever I got a new boyfriend first mocked me on social media for changing boyfriends often, and then the next day the girls and some boys, including Hyunjin, stopped by the front of my boyfriend's classroom, sneered at us, saying trash was dating trash, and mocked us while watching us. Okay. I was aware of everything then, but tried to ignore them while talking to my friends, but Hyunjin spoke to me first. He asked, "Are you dating again?" So I just ignored him at first and kept doing what I was doing, but Hyunjin said, "Hey, are you ignoring me? I'm asking you a question." So I said, "Fuck off." Whether it's because he got angry at that, saying... he started saying, "Fucking bitch, you want to get hit, bitch," and rushed towards me like he was gonna hit me, and some of my friends stopped him. I couldn't say anything at the time, and I remember my friend hugged me while I was crying from surprise and confusion. So this is the only real accusation where it seemed like he went at anyone, but he still didn't hit anyone, and it seems like they were having a heated argument. Okay. And I was in my third year of middle school. Those friends of mine got pulled into a matter with around 15 boys, including Hyunjin, that had nothing to do with them. So I wrote one post on my Facebook saying it was ridiculous, and for that reason, curses about me started suddenly coming up on my Facebook. So people started cussing at her because she posted about something that they were involved in something that didn't involve him. So whatever. Just saying like, oh, she's like dirty, she's trash, whatever, because she broke up with his friend and then started dating somebody else right away. And it's like, that's not a good thing, right? Like, it's like you probably shouldn't do that. You definitely shouldn't mock someone for that or whatever. Like, it's middle school, but like to a middle schooler, I'm sure that feels like it's everything to be like, to have your friend being broken up with and then betrayed by dating someone right away must feel like heart-wrenching or whatever. And like, if it's true, should he have said like, "You want to get hit, bitch," and then like, like do one of those you want to go like one of those, like, if that happened, which I can't imagine, but let's say it did, like, that's a bad thing to do. But again, it is a middle school thing, and it seems like a single incident. I mean, her reasoning for like calling it school violence is that like they continued to talk about her. But of course they would. Like, if you had, like, let's say an ex-wife who was a huge bitch, she might get talked about as a huge bitch by your friends for a long time. Like, that might continue for a while until like everybody moves on, right? Like,
it's definitely possible. Yeah. That
it's like the thing that people do, and it's like, it's in this case, of course, they're at school and they're pushed together, right? So like, It's like a pressure cooker, and so it sucks that it spoiled over, but I feel like it's pretty normal for like people who see their friend like hurt because like they got broken up with to be like, "No, they're trash. You don't need them." Blah blah blah. Like, all the stuff that was going on seems like a reasonable, like a thing that normal people would do.
Yeah, that happens.
It's just that normally the other person. Right. It's just, the other person is usually not there to like hear it or bear the brunt of it. Like your friends talk shit and build you up and, say like, "That bitch doesn't need nothing," whatever,
Yeah.
and then you move on. But like, these were kids in middle school, so like they're stuck together, and so they're gonna see like, so maybe this friend is like really hurt by it and he sees her with a different guy however often, which is fine. Like, she should be allowed to date. It's just that like from their perspective they feel like more hurt by it or whatever. But like, it's just one of those things which is like being an adult and having the hindsight of seeing that stuff. You just kind of go like, man, they should just let it go.
Well,
like Frozen.
One thing that you said is that if you're a middle schooler, like that's something that's going to upset you if you're like
right.
if you're receiving that. And like, yeah, sure, right. As a middle schooler, yeah, you would be upset about that. But this person that's making this accusation is not a middle schooler anymore, right? So like they have the capacity to reflect back on these moments and go, oh, that's just typical middle schooler behavior.
Right. Yeah. And that's, yeah, I don't know,
And I'm not saying like I don't mean to say that like oh, boys will be boys, kind of thing, like
right.
where I'm justifying it. I'm just saying that like it doesn't sound that extreme, and it sounds like a totally normal. Okay, yeah, I mean let's use your/my example. Do you have anything nice to say about my ex?
No.
If you were to say anything at all about her, which inevitably would be mean, would it be false?
No, but it would be rude.
Right. Yeah, no. I'm not asking if it's rude or not. I'm asking if you said something, regardless of its interpretation by anyone else, would it be false?
No.
Right. So like, that sucks, man, but it is what it is. Right. And if you and you would feel strongly about voicing those opinions, probably, if you were put in a position to, because the hurt that caused me. And that's probably what was happening then, is that he was just like, hey, you hurt my friend. And then probably how I would see it is that if I knew that, this girl like hurt my friend and then was just going through guys, which isn't a problem in its own. But if you hurt my friend and then you go through guys, then I'm thinking to myself, you're hurting all of those guys too. You're a shitty person.
Right. Hello. It's Phil. I'm from the future, editing Phil. This is a very serious episode about serious topics, and I was listening through, and we got to this part where we were talking very much about the friend of Hyunjin who was broken up with, and we kind of got off on the tangent talking more about the perspective of Hyunjin and his friend group and how we think that would have been interpreted at the time. And I meant to circle back around and clarify what our position and thoughts were on this girl who's the accuser in this case, who was totally innocent of anything that's going on here. But it appears I lost my train of thought and moved on too quickly, because it's very clear, like, yeah, we can make these interpretations as noted, that there are young people and people of all ages who might be upset with somebody's ex or whatever. But I don't think that justifies anything that went on. I think that, we were just trying to understand what the perspective was from them in middle school. And I got to think, like, if anyone deserves the apology the most, it's her, because she's just a person who's like dating people, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. So I just wanted to get back in here, clarify, add this back to the episode, because it's just like, yeah. So, so there were a couple of stages after all these accusations and stuff came out that they were supposed to attend, that Stray Kids did attend. However, Hyunjin was missing, so media reached out to JYP's representatives and got like a new kind of clarification from them. And they said, as we previously announced, we are trying to find the clear truth, but regardless, we judged that going forward with his schedule at the present time would not turn out well, so we have suspended them. Whether we will proceed with his future schedules or not will be decided according to the situation then. Continuing, they said, currently there is clearly false information being spread on the internet under the title "A Message Sent by a JYP Lawyer to a Victim of School Violence." Yeah, there was like a post that was all about like, oh yeah, I was like threatened by JYP's lawyer, and they said, we don't know anything about the lawyer mentioned in the post, and we have never asked such a lawyer for related work. Because we can't even find the name of such a lawyer in the Bar Association database, we have strong suspicions that this is a case of impersonation. Regardless of this fact, the writer of the post is spreading clearly false information under the title of quote, "A message sent by a JYP lawyer to a victim of school violence." So we are informing everyone that we plan to take strong legal action on that matter. Yeah.
I like how they're like, yeah, this person that you say is a lawyer of ours, not in the bar database. So not a lawyer.
At one of the stages that they performed, Lino had a quote on stage that said, I believe in what I think is my way. Thanks to the choices I've made so far, I've met 8 friends who will be with me for the rest of my life, and I have 8 friends who will be with me on this path I want to go. And I think that I can do better if I have these friends with me, and emphasize the 8 members of Stray Kids during the celebratory stage that took place, even though it was done with 7 people. So a lot of people were like, you know, Lino's giving us a secret signal that like he's trying to support Hyunjin, you know, up front. It's also certainly possible that that he just had already practiced that speech and response, and they just didn't change it in time. But I lean more on the no. Lino is not the type to fuck around. Like, he's the type to defend his friend in whatever way he can. So, yeah. So, on the 26th, JYP put out a new statement. It says, "Hello, this is JYP Entertainment. First, we apologize for making many people uncomfortable with the negative news related to our artist, Stray Kids Hyunjin. As this is a matter to be careful about, we ask for your generous understanding for the delay in our announcement, as it took some time to conduct our investigation through various routes in order to make an announcement based on clear facts. We heard what the situation was like at the time from the classmates, teachers, and surrounding people who were at the school the member had attended during the time the issue was raised, and with the permission of those who wrote the posts, we met them directly and heard their opinions. Combining what we heard from various people and the information we gathered, there were difficulties in clearly proving the truth of everything in the post because everyone's memories of the situation then differed sharply. However, there are people who were hurt and harmed by Hyunjin's immature and inappropriate actions in the past, and as expected, Hyunjin deeply regretted and reflected on himself regarding this. So he met up with the writers of the posts in person and sincerely apologized. We thank the writers of the post once again for resolving their disagreements with Hyunjin, accepting his sincere apology, and showing support for his future. If there were people we were unable to reach that have been hurt by Hyunjin's actions in the past, we would like to take this opportunity to apologize to them as well. Hyunjin has resolved to live properly while always self-reflecting from now on, and we also plan to pay more attention so that our artist can go down the right path. Finally, we request that people refrain from spreading false rumors and speculative reports, and we will do our best to take more careful measures, even in areas we had not considered before in the trainee and artist selection process. Thank you." Okay, when this statement came out, I was fucking pissed about that last line, because I felt like, for the most part, this is a pretty good statement. They're basically saying Hyunjin doesn't take any responsibility for this kind of what he does. He takes responsibility for the miscommunications and the arguments, and that he doesn't want to be seen as the person he was then. Perfect. Great. Everything's good then. The accusers all met with him, accepted his apologies, and agreed to support him as an idol in the future. So they want to support him now. They're saying like, okay, like we're good to go. We think that we accept his apologies. We think he's a changed person, and we're going to support him from now on. All of them, all of the accusers they met with, they all agreed to this. But this last line, they say, we're going to be more careful even in areas we had not considered before in the trainee and artist selection process. So what they're saying there, implying, is that, oh, well, if we would just have been more careful, we wouldn't have selected Hyunjin to be in Stray Kids.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, how dare you backhandedly say that kind of thing? Like, that made me so mad at JYP. Like, I was so mad. Like, that's the fucking rudest shit I've ever heard. Like, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Hyunjin also had a personal apology that he wrote. It was handwritten and then posted onto their Instagram. It says, "Hello, this is Stray Kids Hyunjin. Firstly, I sincerely apologize to those who were hurt by my improper actions during my school years. Looking back on the times when I was more lacking than I am now, I'm embarrassed and have no excuses. I realize that my words and actions from not knowing how to be considerate of others that have hurt other people, it is too late, but I will deeply reflect on myself. Regardless of whether it was intended or not, I believe it's unforgivable no matter what to have caused anyone lasting pain. I'm deeply reflecting on myself as I know very well that just because I apologized and they accepted my apology, it doesn't mean that the pain I left in the past will completely disappear. Although this is shameless, I want to thank those who were hurt because of me for allowing me to meet with them in person and apologize, even if it was late, and to ask forgiveness through this letter as well. If there are any others I was unable to meet in person but have been hurt by my improper actions during my school years, I at least apologize, even though it's only through writing like this. I'm very sorry for causing deep disappointment to the many people who have supported me." That's his statement about it, which I think is good. So I think that's good. That was fine. I think that this is a perfectly good statement, and I think that it's pretty clear. Like, he's a different person. I mean, of course he is. He was a child. He was a child.
Right.
And the thing that I always have to remind myself is that, well, it's K-pop, and a lot of the people who are into K-pop are also children themselves. So they probably feel like somebody being rude to them in a group chat is like everything.
Yeah.
You know? So I could understand. All right. So anyway, this happens and everybody feels some relief. Like, okay, maybe we're going to be okay. We got through this. JYP sent the thing. They met with the accusers. Apology comes out. We're all good. Then there's a post from a teacher from the time. And I read this and I said, okay, let him go. Let him go. So I'm curious to how you're going to interpret this as well, because I think you'll be surprised. It says, "Hello, I am a teacher who watched over the entire school life from entry to graduation of the students in the class of 2016 of the school Stray Kids Hyunjin graduated from. I ended up writing this post because I felt bad seeing the posts from other students and the controversies surrounding Hyunjin at this time. In case even my memories are distorted as well, I called several teachers who were teaching at the same time and confirmed with them the situation at the time. Thus, I will try to write from an objective point of view based on what I recall from the school environment and situation going back then. When Hyunjin was in his second year of middle school, the classroom he was a part of was strongly competitive overall, and the classroom environment was on the sharper side because there were so many students with rough personalities. Although some of it can be blamed on the fact that the kids were going through an immature phase due to external factors, the classroom environment that formed was more one where they would criticize and jeer at each other instead of one where they would embrace each other's flaws. If I were cautiously if I were to cautiously say what the other teachers and I felt at the time, I remember most of the kids in that class were swept up in this classroom environment and expressed themselves immaturely and poorly. Hyunjin, too, was surrounded by this kind of classroom environment and was experiencing a period of confusion because of the various personal hardships, and I think his words and actions were somewhat rough and sharp. Although Hyunjin may have hurt someone with immature words and actions at the time, it's very unfortunate because the claims that Hyunjin led the violence in that class, in that kind of a class situation, have been blown out of proportion and are not true. It's up to Hyunjin to fully reflect on what he did wrong, to apologize and ask for forgiveness from the people who were hurt, and take responsibility for it. However, I think it's harsh how the blame and responsibility regarding everything that happened in the class at that time fall only on Hyunjin because he's a celebrity. The teachers and I called all agreed and expressed the opinion that, quote, it's unfortunate and unfair for Hyunjin to be remembered as a bad-natured child and branded this way. I know that this incident has become a hot topic among alumni as well. His classmate from back then, who occasionally contacts me even on normal days, told me, quote, I think everyone back then said harsh words without knowing we were hurting others. I don't know if perhaps I had hurt someone too. If I had the opportunity, I'd like to apologize as well. Once again, I feel the weight and responsibility that comes with words. It's quite a shame to think that my students, who would have had a difficult time in a classroom environment that was rough at the time, had been hurting their second year of middle school where immature adolescent teenagers gathered. Although they were immature kids, they all are my precious students, and as a teacher who instructed the kids for more than 3 years, I'm cautiously sending this letter with the hope that none of those kids will be hurt again from their memories of that time. Okay, so how do you feel about that teacher statement about everything that happened?
I mean, yeah, that all makes sense. That seems like it tracks.
It tracks. It seems like a perfect interpretation, and I got to tell you, like, Stay at the time was like, oh, okay, here we go. And they'll be like it was at like the top of Reddit. Like, everybody upvoted that shit. People were like, vindication, we fucking did it. We landed on the moon. Like, let him go. Like, people were rude and stuff, but it was everyone. And the teacher, it was just a teacher who was there, said it wasn't just him, it was everyone, and they should all forgive each other, and it's only focusing on him because he's a celebrity.
Right.
Bam. Like, slam dunk, right? And Hyunjin has already met with the accusers he had, so like now, like, not only like has he already met with them, they've already accepted his apologies, he's reflecting on his actions, whatever, all of that should be resolved, and no one in the future should, but with the teacher's comments, should like come at him for that time period, because like he's saying like, nah man, like this was everyone. But you'd think that is how it would go. It did not. It made things so much worse, because in Korea people were like, so you teachers were aware that this kind of thing was going on and you did nothing about it. And it just went crazy. It was so much, it made everything so much worse. Everything, like, people just, it blew up, and everybody was so pissed. And like, it seemed like for like a couple days that like we were gonna get away and be okay, and this was like right before Kingdom started, and we thought, okay, all right, we're gonna escape. We're gonna, because people were worried, and they, JYP wasn't saying anything, and so it was like hard for a while until we got the apology, and then this happened, and we were like, additional vindication, yay! And then it just went worse. It like there was like Korea was more mad about it than ever before. And the thing is that like what sucks about this whole situation is that Stray Kids is like a quote unquote, they're a fourth gen group, right? The thing about fourth gen is that like fourth gen was marketed with the idea that between Psy doing Gangnam Style and BTS opening up the West, now they're like, okay, well, what if we made K-pop groups that weren't just made for K-pop fans, but just made for international fans as well? And so that's what fourth gen is. Like, they're all groups that are supposed to be like able to experiment more, to like appeal more to different markets around the world.
Yeah.
So Stray Kids is that. So when you search for like the K-pop bullying scandal, which hit like tons of people with worse accusations, with actual violence accusations, Hyunjin's the name that comes up because the international outlets are like, oh, Stray Kids, they performed here, so we'll glom onto them. That's the one that matters. So
K-pop groups like Stray Kids.
Exactly. It's oh my god. So, because of the hubbub about that, and then also there were some people who were pissed off because it was that, and then that 5th episode of SKZ Code, Skiz Code was released after he was supposed to be personally reflecting that had him in it. JYP put out another statement. This is their 3rd statement.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, this is JYP. We would like to inform you about the activities of our artist, Stray Kids Hyunjin. The company contacted everyone related to the activities that Hyunjin had already been scheduled to participate in, and we coordinated with them to find a way to cancel his activities while minimizing harm to those companies as much as possible. Hyunjin plans to self-reflect after suspending all activities as a celebrity. He sincerely regrets and is reflecting on himself for hurting so many people with harsh and inappropriate words during his middle school days, and he sincerely apologizes to those who were hurt and will try all his best so those people can heal from their wounds. We sincerely apologize for causing great concern. So, Hyunjin will be in the 1st episode of Kingdom. However, the amount of time that he will be on the screen is cut. And then he's not in the rest of the show. Because of this. Because that was already filmed when they made this decision.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the Stray Kids part of the K-pop bullying scandal, as it's known worldwide. It's a very special episode. Yeah, it's real cool.
You know, cool. when you put it that way, this K-pop bullying scandal, it sounds like this super centralized incident, but really it's just shit that went down that people only give a shit about because it involves people that are celebrities.
Yeah, well, I think if the reason
all of this would have went down regardless, and then if none of those people were famous, nobody'd be talking about it. No one would give a shit, but it still happened.
Yeah, I think that's much like how Me Too in the US, certainly there are examples that were egregious, but had we not had Me Too, there are some real monsters that would have just continued getting away with it.
Oh yeah.
And I think that someone who would have been a potential predator is going to think twice now.
Yeah.
And I think that so there's a point, I think, even to this, right? Because it clearly this quote unquote school violence, this kind of stuff, they were talking about, even that teacher was yeah, man, those people all their whole classroom long were fucked up like that. And it's okay, so you in some ways you can understand okay, so there was a culture of bullying or school violence that they say, oh, yeah, this is a thing that happened, right? And I don't know. It's just weird. But I think it's fair to say that yeah, it probably wouldn't have made a big splash if it hadn't have been celebrities that got the accusations, and maybe that's in some ways could be wrong, but at the same time, if they hadn't done it that way, it sucks because it affects somebody that I care about, right? But if they hadn't gone about it that way, then I don't know, would it ever become a top news item that hey, by the way, kids in middle school are getting bullied, and probably worse than the accusations that are happening from these K-pop idols?
Right.
The education department, the Office of Education, went on to say that they were investigating stuff and trying to look into ways that they can actively stop this from happening. So they're trying to make advances in the area of kids being bullied in school. So like
to make it easier for them to get bullied. I'm kidding.
To try and stop it. So like it's like I don't want Hyunjin to get hurt by this, but like if anything like comes from it that's positive from the whole scandal, then it's going to be that that perhaps in the future less people will be bullied. Although like people are still getting accusations. There's a new group that just like came out recently and it was decently popular, and like people pointed out the fact that like, hey, one of the people who are in that group was like a bully in high school, to the point where somebody she bullied had a restraining order against her, and you knew that before she debuted. And you know what the fans of that group did when that person was like getting in trouble and people were accusing her?
What did they revolt?
What they did was they said, yeah, well, Hyunjin from Stray Kids was accused of bullying, course. And yeah, it's fucked up. And it's like, so then Stay has to go over again and be like, get his name out of your mouth. He went through his stuff. He had to do this, like,
right.
Like
that's so, fucking said, and that's over.
Right. It's over. Like all this stuff happened, but yeah, of course they did. Yep. They just like pointed fingers over here, even though like he was accused of having arguments with people, not having violence to the point of needing a restraining order. Right. So yeah. So that person from that group has been suspended from their activities as well. So who knows where that's going to go? I don't know, but that's not anything to do with Stray Kids. So I don't know why people are talking about Stray Kids.
Yeah.
One other
sounds like a Ben Shapiro kind of argument.
Yeah, right. There's one other scandal that came from this whole period of time that's more recent and kind of fucked up. They had a marketing deal with Clio, which is a makeup brand. And if you like bought their like packs of makeup, like the Stray Kids themed ones, you would get like special cool Clio Stray Kids cards. I think that when you were looking for PCs to buy for Anna, I suggested one of those.
Yeah.
After I suggested that, I found out about this. This was actually kind of recent that I found out about it. I don't know if it was widely known, but that's when I found out. Apparently, so because of this, it was like at the time they had said like, okay, well, we're going to continue the promotions just with the other 7 active members of Stray Kids as models. But they had already manufactured the cards for Hyunjin. So they sold them on like the black market in Japan at like a marked up cost. Like the company did.
Oh.
And it came up recently because like the company Clio, I think, was like being accused of like embezzling a bunch of money, like COVID loan money or something, like crazy stuff. Like, so I don't know, like that's interesting. And then they like had made some statement and then walked it back, saying that like, we lost a bunch of money because of, JYP and because of Stray Kids, which is not true. It's definitely not true. But they were trying to say, like, act like, or somebody who then the company said like, oh, they don't represent our views. But like somebody was talking shit, and which wasn't true. And then of course people brought up like, hey, aren't you the company that was illegally selling Hyunjin's cards in Japan while trying to pretend like Hyunjin not being there caused you guys to lose money? Like, fuck off. Come on. So anyway, yeah. So that's it's a lot of information. Some casual arguments, some arguments between people in middle school.
Yeah.
So if you ever wanted to have like a full on book report with all the details and translations, I will post the Google Doc in our show notes. If you want to find out the inner workings of the 13-year-old mind, go ahead, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that that you're willing to post all that, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say it is not necessary for anyone to read through that ever, because it's about middle schoolers not getting along.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
So crazy. Yeah. So yeah, middle schoolers not getting along. Yeah, none of the accusations have been proven true or false. I mean, that is the thing, right? The statement from JYP ultimately said, like, everybody's memories are fuzzy, but Hyunjin feels like he acted immaturely and wanted to apologize, and they accepted his apologies. So, like, ultimately, like, that's what it comes down to. So anyone who tries to, like, dredge it back up and be like, hey, this thing happened, blah, 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 fuck off. Like,
right.
we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. He was a child. They were also children. He understands that things he might have said could have hurt their feelings. They understand that he apologizes. They're all different people now because they're adults, and they moved on. So you should too. Like,
right.
That's the end of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I get the apologizing is probably really good for PR. And
right.
I don't know, to put myself in those shoes, I probably would have given like a half-assed apology. Well, I mean, like, not been so lay all the blame at my feet kind of thing, but just
right,
like
taking all the responsibility.
Right, like saying, yeah, I realize like I probably did some fucked up shit back then, and I'm sorry for that, but don't act like you're a fucking saint. All right, that's probably that would be
yeah, that would
be
get
my
you
response.
out of it. Yeah, that would definitely get you out of it. I mean, that could be your response because you're just a person. Like, you're not an idol who has an image that they need to portray to protect a company that they work for, and like, you know, like, there's a lot that goes into. And all the members. I mean, you got to think about, like, how much are they hurting? They're now missing the member who is like a main dancer and visual member,
right.
and he's like great. He can fill in raps. He can fill in singing. Like, you know, like, he's good at everything.
Yeah,
they all are good at everything. But they're a strong 8, and we've taken a member away. So like, as they're going into a competition show,
right,
like,
right,
it's a problem.
Yeah.
But to be fair, everybody else is missing people too at some point or another. So
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like I'm not. I don't want to downplay his apology. I'm sure it was very sincere, and I'm sure that, it wasn't exclusively for cleanup, but but come on, guy. Like, especially to you accusers. Now, I know it's all resolved and everything. I'm just okay. Not to the Hyunjin accusers, but to any would-be accuser in the future. How about take a second before you start complaining about how other people might have treated you in the past? Reflect on yourself first and ask yourself, have I been perfect? Because you fucking haven't been. So get over it.
Fair. Okay. That's the final word from Tom. All right. Well, man, this has been a marathon, not a sprint. I hope anybody who's made it to the end had a good time, maybe learned a thing or two, maybe or just said, you know what, fuck it, like teenagers, man, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy, but you know what? We will, on our next episode, we are starting Kingdom, okay? And it's gonna be good, and you'll get to at least see Hyunjin once, and then you're not gonna see him for a while. It's gonna be a while. Gonna be a long time.
That might be tough for him because he, as a result of him being missing, he might drop out of my number 3 spot.
He's gonna drop out of your number 3 spot. I gotta tell you, like, immediately after you had said it, and I was like, you can even probably hear it on the episode that we recorded about it. Like, I go, oh, like, and I like messaged into the secrets chat, and I was like, I cannot believe he replaced his number 3, who was the member who left, with the member who's being forced to leave. I could not have written this better.
Yeah. Yeah, what a coincidence.
What a coincidence. I cannot.
You know what? You know what, Hyunjin, because you used to be a bully, you're my number 1 now. Good on you. Chungbin and Bogshot, you just got knocked down a peg because you got a fucking bully on your team, and I'm about that.
Yeah.
Say yes to bullying.
Say okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's the lesson we learned today.
No.
Bullying.
Bullying's not okay. But Hyunjin's not a bully. He just didn't get along with somebody. Whatever.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, if you want to bully Tom, come to our Discord at discord.gg/inconceivable.
Yeah.
And you can check out all our links at linktr.ee/makeastaypod. I got it. Nailed it.
Nice.
And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode where we're going to watch the first episode of Kingdom. And Tom is not prepared.
I'm not.
He is not prepared. 100% guaranteed. He is not ready.
Probably not.
But we're gonna do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to say?
No. I'm not prepared for this. So
I put him on the spot.
Yeah.
You can just say bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.